Unpause this. Welcome. We're glad that you're here for Agent Mastermind on Monday, August 31st, the last day of August. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
We are here with Connie Davison and Gareth Griffith, and they're here to chat with us about open houses, holding in-person open houses and what we can do virtually. During this pandemic era, we've got to have options. So we're going to be talking about different things. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to either unmute yourself and ask, or you're welcome to also put it in the chat, and I'll be glad to I'll be monitoring that as well. We will ask that you mute yourself if you're not asking a question to keep the noise down. And Connie and Gareth, take it away. Thanks, guys, for being here.
I'd love to see your actual faces. These
you.
Profile pictures are nice, but I will tell you that from the perspective of a teacher, it's kind of hard when you don't get that feedback of their, oh, wow.
Exactly. So please.
Yeah, you don't have to if you're in your pajamas. I don't care. But, you know, if you can put it on live, that would be nice.
I'm still in my workout clothes from this morning. So, you know, it's okay. It is what it is. So yeah. Let us see your beautiful faces, however beautiful they look.
Awesome.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
Terry.
right. Go for it, guys.
All right. Awesome. So I'm Gareth, and I will ask Connie to introduce herself and tell you guys kind of how long she has been in the business and kind of her real estate journey.
Super.
So Connie,
well,
introduce yourself.
Thanks. Really glad to have you all here today. Gareth and I are teaming up on this because we come at it from two different perspectives, and that really helps you as you're figuring out your way. He's newer to the business and I'm older to the business. So been at it 10 years. I was in the financial services industry before and started in 2010, which was kind of a yucky time to be starting in real estate. So actually, in some regards, I can kind of empathize with you if you're just now getting started during the COVID era. Because it's a challenge, but you can get through it. And the neat part is that you're learning from a great group of people. And you know, that's the way I looked at it when I joined in 2010. That the people who were really still cranking it out as agents, they were pros. They were not people that were just sort of doing this on the sideline as an extra income. These are people who are making their living as real estate agents. And, you know, Keller Williams just does a great job of education. So I'm happy to be here. And Gareth, a little bit about you.
So I'm just a year into the business, and before getting into real estate, I was a teacher for 14 years and a high school principal for 7. So I can come at it with kind of that sort of a background. And so the past year has been a lot of learning from Julianne and her team. And so lots of great stuff from the other agents in the office. So I can vouch that you can learn a ton of great stuff from everybody at Keller Williams and at Quan. So it's been a big help to me getting launched. So maybe learn a little bit about kind of our audience. So maybe in the chat box, just kind of throw in there, you know, how long you've been in the business so that we get a sense of it. And then also, you know, have you hosted open houses before? And if so, have you done it a lot or a little bit? Just so we can get a sense of, you know, we don't want to tell you stuff you already know, but we want to make sure that we cover all the bases for you.
Sure. And if you have certain things that you're specifically looking to learn about, let us know that as well. We're going to cover a lot of bases, I think, in the next hour, but if there's specific concerns that you have or just things you're hoping to take away from today, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure you get everything together. All right, so while y'all are putting that in, I'm going to see if I can share my screen. There we go. And we've got a little presentation for you that we can help us guide what it is that we want to do. All right. So we'll go into presentation mode here. All right.
Can you tell he was a teacher?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to start with the big why. Why hold an open house? And so here's where you get to test your typing skills and put some stuff in the chat box and maybe Julianne can read us off a couple of your answers, and then we'll kind of give our perspective on things. So why should you hold an open house? Why do people hold open houses? Other than that they're bored on Sunday afternoons.
Come on, y'all, chime in. You should know the answer to this.
And you can unmute as well.
To gain more clients.
Mhm.
Okay, great answer. Any other reasons?
To sell the property faster.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. All right, so I think those are probably the two big ones. You know, to market the listing, get it sold, get people energized about it, whether the actual buyer walks through or not, you're generating buzz, and a lot of sellers want to see that you're working for them. And then the other is leads, leads, leads. So when I think about who's walking into an open house, who's walking in, Connie?
Well, obviously you've got people who are thinking about buying, and the people, as you've got in your slide here, it's perfect. It's immediate buyers and future buyers. Some people, they're already working with an agent and they just want to get out on a Saturday or Sunday and see some additional properties and not bother their agent. But there's a lot of people too that are coming through. They're just kind of kicking the tires and just saying, okay, I'm thinking about this area of town. Maybe I currently live in Smyrna and I'm thinking about East Cobb. And so by going to some open houses, I can get a feel for what my dollar will buy me in that market. And so they're kind of kicking the tires, and those are great people to be meeting. They've already raised their hand to say, I'm interested in buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you also get neighbors, you know, and some that are just sort of looky-loos, and even those are great leads. Some of my best leads from open houses have been other listings, and we can talk a little bit more about how to develop those as we go.
Yep, so it's a great way to think about it, that everybody coming in is a potential lead.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they've got an agent now, who knows, they may come back to you down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so real quickly, kind of the Keller Williams 7 levels of an open house. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time going through this because you probably got it in Ignite and in other places, but just know that it exists and that you can do it really on a low level and you get low level results, or you can kick it up a notch or two and do, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 and do a whole lot better.
And this is out of the Shift book? It is out of the Shift book.
I think it's out of Shift, yeah.
I think it's also in MREA, but I'm not sure.
It may be, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so basically you can break down the open house into getting ready for it.
Gareth, can we go back? Gareth, can we go back to that just for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I may have seen this, but I just want to touch on what the, you know, just a real quick, because the type is kind of small there, but just kind of touch real quick. So it's not just sticking a sign in the yard. If you go down to that bottom row, you can see there's the 7 levels all there for you. So you've got a sign in the yard, you put up balloons or riders or whatever with it. You've got directionals pointing so that anyone who's just driving by near the neighborhood might see it. You get a lot from that, oddly enough. Flyers the week before, or email if you're putting it out to your social media. You want to go and invite the neighbors. To me, that step right there is key. I have made it a practice. Fortunately, I'm on a team with my husband, so I get double whammy. And we do go out before an open house. I'll have a little flyer. It really looks more like an invitation to tell people, hey, we're having an open house at your neighbors. You hit about 50 to 100 houses nearby. That is a great door knocker. And I have a script that I use with that as well. Just about, there's all kinds of reasons that a lot of agents don't like neighbors coming, and I'm not one of them. I really want you to come, invite them. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'll do a special invitation with the seller's permission. I'll say, we're going to have a time that is just for neighbors. The open house is from 2 to 4, but we're inviting you. You get a sneak preview if you'd like to come at 1. And then that way you sort of know anyone walking in the door at 1 o'clock is probably a neighbor, and you're going to have a slightly different edge of questions. So inviting the neighbors is key, then getting on the phone and making sure you're reaching back out to those people. And then look at that last one, holding 4 other open houses in the area. That's probably the one step out of 7 that a lot of people forget about and don't do. And it's crazy good because
it works. It
yeah,
works well. And it doesn't mean you hold them. You could just partner with other agents in the area.
But it also, you know, if the people in your neighborhood keep seeing your, even if it's not your listing that you're hosting, if your directionals are going up for a couple of weeks in a row because you're hosting other open houses in that neighborhood, people start noticing, oh yeah, I've seen your name. So thank you for indulging me. I just thought it was worth going over those 7 steps.
No, exactly. And the neighbor thing is great because who are they? They're your future sellers.
They're going to sell.
Yeah.
And a reminder to everybody, if you focus on the 5th to 7th level, it is expected that you're going to get at least 2 people added to your database and at least 1 new piece of business from your open house if you do it right.
All right. So
thanks, Kira.
Yep, no problem. All right. So kind of the 3 kind of big pieces of an open house. It's not just the day of, there are a lot of pieces to it. So preparing for an open house. So here's a question for you. You don't have any listings. How do you find an open house to host? How have you done it out there in the audience? Any ideas?
I find some time on Facebook. Some of the Quan agents or KW agents post on Facebook that they're looking for an open house. And I just, contact them, and that's how I hold an open house.
Okay, yep, great way to pay attention to Facebook. So we'll show you a couple of tips in a second of how to generate some open houses for yourself. And then another question is, what do you think you need to know in order to be ready on the day of? What do you need to learn? Anybody want to chime in there?
You guys out there, come on.
The comps in the area.
I can talk.
The comps, a general idea of the area too. The proximity, like the last one I did, the proximity to the stadium, to 285, just the general area.
Yeah, the general neighborhood and the comps in the neighborhood. Excellent answers. And then another question to think about is how you're going to market this thing. And so what are some ideas that you've got? I mean, we've mentioned signs already. How else are you going to market the open house? How are you going to drive people to it? You've already heard answers.
Well, and some of it too is just reaching out the database that you currently have, and everybody has a database. I don't care if you started in this business yesterday. You have an address book or what database, whatever you want to call it, of your friends, your neighbors, people you go to worship with, whatever it is, your previous business. You need to be setting it up so those people get a touch from you that says, hey, I'm hosting an open house. And you just never know. They may not be looking to buy a house in that neighborhood, but maybe their cousin is, or somebody that they know. And if nothing else, it's planting that seed in their mind that, oh, that's right, Gareth is not a principal anymore. He's now in real estate.
And that's
the worst thing that can happen is someone says, oh, I didn't realize you were in real estate.
Yeah, so that's a great touch. All right, so here we're going to share a few tips on how do you get that open house rather than just kind of waiting for something to pop up on Facebook. All right, so one is build relationships with other agents in the office. The people who have listings, get to know them. They don't all host their own open houses. And then learn what it is to be at an open house. Shadow some on a Saturday afternoon. Go visit open houses and see how they're done. So figure out what you would want to do and how other people are doing it, what you wouldn't want to do. So these are great ways to prepare and be ready so that when you do host an open house, you do a good job, and then the agents ask you back. Another thing is if an agent does call you up and say, hey, can you host an open house, be as available as possible, because they'll stop calling you if you can't do it for them. So definitely be aware. And then the other thing is ask. You find the agents, get to know them, and then figure out who to ask. Would you add anything to that, Connie?
Yeah, one of the things that I do when I'm shy on listings and I'm looking for an open house, I go into FMLS and I pull up, you can pull up, thank you, Julianne. So you can pull up KWEC, there you go, and find out who, what listings just came on over the past 7 days. And those are going to be the really hot listings because they're fairly new. And I just start going, number one, I kind of pick and choose a little bit. I want to look at, is it an area where I want to focus my business? But quite frankly, sometimes you just do it. It doesn't matter where it is, just get in the practice of hosting an open house. But I'll start there. I go to KWEC 01 and then look and see, what's currently active. Or you might look and see, did somebody just have a price change? That's another one, because maybe they've had their house on the market for a month or more, and all of a sudden their seller is finally listening to them and they've dropped their price. That's a great time to step in and do an open house.
Mm-hmm. And so just as an example, I pulled this on, I want to say Thursday last week, mm-hmm. or Friday last week. And so just in Quan, we had 116 listings. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to find an open house in that group. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So that's a quick and easy way to find out who in our office at any rate has listings. And if you know people in other offices, you can look through the Rawls group and find other people as well. So just that is a quick tip on how to figure out what's out there.
And for compliance, I have to put in there that if you do that, if you're holding a open house for somebody that is not from our brokerage, you do need to have the authorization from that brokerage. It's a GAR form, and it is in your agent success plan under documents section. It's already there, the link for that document.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So it's one step simpler just to stay in our office, and those are the people you're going to know the best anyway.
Mm-hmm. Then I would take it another step further. When you really want to be a little bit more aggressive and really seeking out open houses, think about it as a lead. You want to build your pipeline. You hear that expression all the time, right? So if I'm waiting for a notice to come up on Facebook, I can probably find an open house that way, but I might find it faster by reaching out to these agents that are here that have active listings. Or I might even get more leads for the pipeline by going to agents and saying, what have you got coming up in the next 3 weeks? Not what do you have now? What do you have coming up? And can I get on your list to host an open house? So future cast a little bit. Say, I'm looking, or even put that out there to Quan and just say, hey, I'm looking to host an open house in whatever area you want to be in East Cobb or Smyrna or Roswell, Alpharetta. You pick it and just say, have you got a new listing coming up in the next 3 weeks? I'd love to get on your calendar.
And another kind of question for you, Connie, is if you're wanting an open house on Sunday, when should you be asking other agents if you could get in the door and be their host?
Usually about a week before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely agree. So
because really to do your open house right, you need to have about a week of lead time. Those first couple of days you're doing number one, you're identifying where you're going to have an open house. I would also ask that listing agent, please talk to your client, even if they go under contract, are they willing to still let me come and do an open house, or would a contract cancel the open house? You need to know that. Mm-hmm. But I would start off, day one is just identify where you're going to do it. Day 2 might be doing some research on the house. I would go, schedule an appointment and go see the house so that you have an idea of what is its best features. Is it the kitchen? Is it the backyard? Is it the neighborhood? Is it the pool down the street? Is it, whatever. You want to find out what the best features are and maybe the biggest challenges are of that property so that you're prepared. You're not just walking into it the day of the open house. Then day 3, 3 and 4 might be when you're getting out and canvassing the neighborhood and inviting neighbors to come. So you have something that you're doing on it each day for about a week. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the biggest part, which we'll get to later in the slides here, is the follow-up, because that is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, that week build up, and when I can, I try to schedule them 2 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know that I'm doing.
Even better.
Yep. So, all right, how do you prepare?
Garrett,
how do you get ready for the day?
Can I just interject one little thing here?
Yeah.
Sure.
You have on there your conversation practice. We have scripts for open houses on that agent success plan as well. So there's a tab for open houses with those scripts in there. So they've got all that resource as well.
Yeah. So I put that script in there for you, Julianne. Because you got to practice it. You got to do it. You need to know what you're going to say when people walk in the door. Mm-hmm. And then all those other things that we mentioned are all great things. And we've got some kind of common questions that people will ask because they'll stump you. They'll come in with questions. So we'll throw those up in a second. But these are all the things that we've already mentioned that you need to do your homework on. You need to have answers for. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the marketing the open house. We've mentioned a lot of them already. So certainly social media. If you wanted to invest in online ads, you think about the Facebook and through command, could generate some, leads that way. Certainly email, all those things. We've already mentioned all of them. So mm-hmm. we'll keep flying. We'll keep moving and show you some examples here. So social media. So all of these were created in Command and Designs. And so on the bottom right here is, just a Facebook post with the flyer that was created in Command. And then over here, these other ones are social media posts that you can create in Command. So just to show you where everything is really quickly, if you haven't played around in it, when you're in, let's see, I'm going to move my thing there. So when you're in your designs in Command, just add one. If you're doing a social post, just hit next. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing because that's another class. And mm-hmm. there's probably videos up on Quan Train that you can plug in that for you, Julianne. And so you can go under listings, that's where they are, the open houses, and Instagram, Facebook, they're templates that you can use. So not going to mess with showing you how to put them together, but that's where they are.
Gareth, I'm going to show my ignorance on that and ask the question for others who might be in my shoes. If you're hosting someone else's open house, obviously on the sample that you showed, it was one where it was Scott, somebody else, I couldn't see the name of, but you were hosting someone else's listing. There you go. So you need to make sure you do that. You have to identify who the listing is, but do you go and get the photographs from them, or did you take it from FMLS? How did you grab the pictures?
When you are in Command and you're creating the design, you can put in the FMLS number and it will pull up the pictures that are on FMLS. Mm-hmm.
And is there a template already that allows you to show that you're hosting it for a different agent, or did you have to create that?
I kind of created that a little bit.
Okay.
So
good point, Connie. So if you're hosting for somebody else, you need to have on there that is listed by, and then and you're the host, hosted by. So it needs to have the logo for the office and who it's listed by. And then you can put your picture and your information as well.
Right, exactly. All right, I'm gonna try to get back to full screen here. There we go. Okay. And so, and I definitely kind of go with what the other agent wants. Some agents want to make sure that their picture and their info is all as prominently displayed as mine. Others are just like, just put my name in there somewhere and it's, you get all you can out of this. So, which is, you know, either way, you're getting your info out there. And the people who are talking to you only know that it's you. Let's see, am I still there?
There you are. You're at your open house with balloons.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted
Step
to
number 2.
Yes, yeah, 2 balloons. Yeah, I wanted to kind of point out an opportunity with signs. So here I've got my phone number on it. And so you will get phone, you know, sign calls on your open house signs. So for example, I was showing around a new buyer that came from a sign call, and the sign call referred this buyer to me. So any way you can get your name out there and number out there, you never know where it's going to lead. All right. And then our day of the open house. Connie, what do you do on your day, on the open house day?
Well, I would say that it's changed a little or changed a lot because of COVID. So I'll speak to if it were not COVID and then how you might need to tweak it. But if it were not COVID, you know, I get up that morning and check and see what the current inventory is in that neighborhood. If it's a neighborhood where there's a couple of listings, I want to know about them. I want to know how they compare to what I'm going to be hosting. I want to see if anything just went under contract, because I learned years ago from Sean Rawls that if you have the information, that's really what you're selling. You know, your knowledge of the area is what you're selling, because, you know, just about any buyer can pull up data on the house that you're in. They can see how old it is, how many bedrooms, how many baths, and what the price is, but that is not the whole picture. So if someone can walk in the door and say hi, and you get in conversation with them, you say, well, you know, we're the only house on the market in this neighborhood, or, well, there's 3 other homes in the neighborhood that are on the market, but we're the best bargain, or there's other homes in the neighborhood that are on the market and we're right in the middle, or we're the highest priced, however, we also are the best quality in this neighborhood. You know, just any kind of information you can get that's that day. And I generally print out like an agent full and a quick CMA, and I carry those with me. They are not something that I want someone else to pick up and walk out the door with. I'll print it in black and white so that I know it's my copy. And I just keep that in my hand so that I can tell them, I've got a little more information that I can share with you here about this area. So that is one of the things that I do. Generally, I like to try and show up at least, you know, we'll head for the open house probably 2 hours or so in advance. Stopping to get balloons, whatever it is, get those put out. The signs have been put out the night before, if not sooner. And I'll put the balloons out the day of the open house. If it's going to be a rainy day, don't bother with balloons because they just fall. I have gone in the past and gotten, like pinwheels. There are times when balloons are just the bane of my existence. So I'll switch and use pinwheels. Anything that moves, that gets your attention is helpful. I like to have some drinks and snacks. Now that's probably different now that we have COVID. Normally I would have had a pitcher where I was literally pouring them a glass, almost like you're at a party at someone's house. I want them to feel that as they're coming in, but under current circumstances, I'd be more likely to have small bottles of water, things like that, that someone can pick up and there's not a lot of touch to it. I really would not probably under current circumstances even have any snacks. I hope that that day will change, but that's sort of where I am as far as the day of.
Yep, that's about it.
How about you?
Pretty much that. A bottle of water is about all I'm offering now. And then you don't have to worry about, handing anything to anybody. And right next to, hand sanitizer and all that.
And are you wearing a mask when you're hosting?
I do.
Yep.
I do wear one. I want to set that good example. And I'm finding more and more people are much more accommodating and understanding as they walk in, they see your mask and they put theirs on. Or they turn around and go back to the car and get theirs. And it's not just for you and the person walking in, there could be other guests in the home. And so one of your jobs is as a traffic cop. If one party is in the house and they're upstairs, direct the other group to the basement and let them switch. And if it does become a really crowded open house, you can definitely, stand at the front door and let one or two groups in at a time. There's nothing wrong with that. So
gives you a chance to chat up other people at the front door.
Absolutely. It's a nice stop.
Yeah. I did that one where I had people going in the front door and then out the side door so that they could go around, and then I would let people and chat with them while they were waiting in line, and it worked out perfectly.
Yep. And so you just have to know your house and be prepared. It could be one of those open houses where one group comes at a time, and that's easy. But be prepared to know how you're going to manage a crowd and plan for a crowd. So always over plan and you'll be always prepared. Okay, so we got a couple example type things here for you. So getting a house ready. So there's some things that if it's a occupied home that Connie has this great handout that she gives to her sellers so that they know what they need to do before an open house and things that she and her team are going to do on the day of the open house. And we'll share this slideshow with everybody, so you don't have to.
You're going to find that you've got the whole spectrum. You've got some clients who are super casual about COVID, and you've got others who are really fearful. And you have to sort of get a sense of where does this client fall and help them through this. If you're hosting the open house for another agent, then that might be a little bit more of a challenge. So step number one to me would be ask the agent's permission and say, may I call your client and just introduce myself? And that's your opportunity just to say, hey, I'm going to be hosting the open house for Gareth this weekend. I just wanted to say hello and ask if you have any concerns about an open house occurring in your home. I want to make sure that you are 100% comfortable with us keeping you safe.
And even if you have a casual seller, you're helping them to bring in a wary customer comfortably.
Exactly.
So you can get cooperation.
Exactly. And if you're going to have sanitizer and masks, have them as close to that front door as you possibly can. A lot of times I'll even carry a little folding TV tray and set it up just inside the door in case there's not like a side table or something that's in that property. Again, that's where if you've gone to the house one day during the week to preview it, you have a little bit more of an idea of how you want to set up and where.
Exactly, and especially if it's a vacant home. Yeah. And so we just put together just a really simple script. Julianne pointed you to some other examples of scripts, but this one is pretty straightforward. You want to get a name from somebody. So introduce yourself, ask them what their name is if they don't volunteer it, and then use their name, personalize this conversation. And a great lead in is you question, so, hey, Tom, are you shopping for a home today or do you live in the neighborhood? So automatically, you know whether you've got a buyer or a potential seller. If they're shopping for a home, they're a buyer. If they live in the neighborhood, they're a potential seller. It's not always hard and fast, but it's a good way to kind of figure out where your conversation's going. And then, as you are talking to them, what are you looking for in your next home? Build a picture of this home that they're looking for. How many bedrooms? Do they need a basement? Do they need a yard? And that gives you something that you can point out about the home that you're in and say, yeah, well, hey, you're looking for a great master suite, check out the one upstairs. You're going to love it. And then be sure that you let them know that you want to catch up with them after they've looked at the home to get their feedback, to carry on the conversation.
So Gareth, in general, are you letting people walk through the house on their own, or are you giving them a tour?
So generally speaking, I point out where things are and I let them walk, but I am with them to answer questions. And as I hear their conversation, I may point out something or answer an unasked question. And so that's typically how I do it if I have 1 or 2 groups in a home, which is pretty much what we're getting these days. But if you have a lot of groups in a home, then this works pretty well to be able to kind of manage several people at once.
Yeah, I have the fortunate situation where Peter will come with me. So we generally have 2 of us at the open house. And if you can tag team with another agent, it's a nice thing to do. You just have to make agreements between you as to what do you do with leads.
Right.
But I think that, you know, as much as possible, you want to let people go through without hovering. Matter of fact, one of my, it's sort of silly, but it's one of my typical scripts is, I am Connie, and my goal today is not to hover over you like the lady at the dress shop, you know, who always comes up and says, can I help you? And everybody usually laughs, you know, when you bring that up, because everyone's experienced that. And so what I'd like to do instead of hovering over you is just give you a little bit of information about the home to get you started. And then if you will, please take a look through. And when you're finished, come back and I'd like to get some feedback from you. And I've got a little more information to share. And that way you've met them, you've chatted them up a little bit, and then let them off and let them go through the house as if they're living there.
Yep, exactly. And you can start to tell whether they like it or not pretty quickly as they move themselves through the home. And then if you've got somebody in the neighborhood, you know, a quick question to ask is, what do you like about the neighborhood? And instead of kind of pointing out some of the things they're looking for, point out some of the things that this current seller has done to make their home more attractive. And that can lead into a conversation about, well, what do you think about updating our kitchen and so on. That sort of a conversation is something that sellers are interested to, and it can lead to home values, and just let that conversation evolve and flow. And then after they've come back, offer that something of value, whatever it is. You know, pay attention to the conversation and lead off of what it is that they are interested in. So if it's a buyer, you know, would it be of value to you if I was able to share some other homes in the area with you that are that meet what you're looking for? And so that's sort of a question, you know, or would you be offended if I sent you a list of homes in the neighborhood or in the area? And so people do not turn down value. So, and then that leads you into getting their contact info.
And
so having
I hope everyone was,
how you're going to get their contact info is really important.
I hope you were listening. The way that he said that, would you be offended if, is the script. And it sounds very genuine, and it is. So you need to know your scripts so that you're using the right words to get the right response. That's important. It's not just talking to people. There's an actual key to all of this.
Yeah, people don't, you know, they're not going to tell you to your face, yeah, I'd be totally offended if you sent me an email. But so, yeah, you got to ask, because that is the script.
The more you can practice them, the better, because it'll feel more natural and less. I remember when I first got started, even the word "a script" sounded really awful. I thought, oh my God, we're trying to sell popcorn or something, you know, and it felt really cheesy to me. But when you realize that you're just practicing language and you're practicing the way you present yourself and the property, you'll make it your own. You're going to switch some words around a little bit, but practice it so that it feels really natural, because people can tell, you know, they have an antenna that can tell when you're not being genuine. And if you totally come at it from the perspective of, I'm here to help you, and truly be that I'm here to help the client. And if I pick up a lead from it, great. you know, so just come at it from that perspective of, I'm here to help you. It will change the way you present the information.
One thing I heard not too long ago was, you know, act as if you're their agent until you are. So give them that level of service that you would give your best client as they come in. And then coming up with, sorry, went too fast. Whatever your way of getting the information from them, whether you want to write it down, which some people really appreciate in this, you know, day and age. Some people will happily write stuff down. Sometimes you can have people enter stuff on a laptop. Maybe less so now in the day of COVID, but figure out how you're going to collect their information. And the conversation opener is, you know, what's a good email address to send the list of homes to? And, you know, just in case it bounces back, because that happens sometime, what's a good phone number for you? So I can make sure that you get this information. And so people will give that because, again, they've already agreed to getting that information. So just kind of giving you a couple options there for how to engage in that conversation of getting their information.
I'm kind of curious as to what,
but
sorry?
Sometimes people won't give it to you, but that's okay.
I was kind of curious as to the group, those of you who have hosted open houses, what's been your best way of getting the data? Is it having them write it down, or do you write it down after they give it to you verbally? Anyone?
Have them write it down.
Because I know that in the past, I tend to be a little bit different in the way I do an open house. A lot of them, you'll see there's like an open house registry. And I've done it both ways, quite frankly. An open house registry where it's got the address at the top, and then you got a place for the name, email address, phone number, do you have an agent kind of thing. A lot of people I found were not really keen on signing in for something like that because they know you're going to barrage them with emails, and it kind of is it's like you're going through the mall and you're filling out a questionnaire. And so I switched after, I don't know, probably 4 years of doing it that way. And the way I go at it is I'll have a sheet of paper where I tell people, this is your chance to be like on HGTV. We want to just find out a little bit about what your thoughts are on this house. And so it might ask them more specific questions about the house. And I would have put it on a clipboard and handed them a pen. So now with COVID, I don't know that you would hand someone a pen and a clipboard unless you have a spot that's really clear that says, okay, these are used pens. You know, or you've got your pen with your name on it and you want them to take it home with them. You say, here, take this pen, you can take it with you when you're done. But anyway, give them an opportunity to, people love to think that they're, you know, a TV host and they'll fill out information. Yeah, I like the kitchen, or no, I would have changed this. And they'll give you some feedback on the specific home. And then down at the bottom, I would have a place where they fill in their name, address, are they working with an agent kind of thing. And again, if you're standing right there with them, I would say, hey, I promise I'm not going to be stalking you.
I've done exactly that. I switched to that as well, and I get so much more information. In addition to that, sometimes I'll do a gift card, $5, $10, like gas card, and say the owner has requested this information, and for you participating and helping us out, you'll be in the drawing for a gift card, and people will sign up, and they want the information correct because they want to get the card.
Yeah, and I've done all of that. I put just one example up here of something that I've used recently, and it seems to work pretty well, especially if they have already agreed to get something of value from you. And you'll be surprised at kind of how much stuff they will put down on here. All I'm really looking for is a name and an email. And I'll read it back to them to make sure that their handwriting is legible enough so that I've got it right, if they're the ones who are writing it down. If I'm writing it down, then I just, you know, I can read my own handwriting most of the time. So here are a couple questions that tend to come up fairly frequently, just to give you an idea of the types of things people will ask. And So, Connie, Julianne, or others out there, feel free to throw in other questions that have stumped you in the past that you weren't ready for.
Is it on septic?
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What if it is?
Well, there's
How do you
lots of
handle it?
houses
You
that
should
are.
know when it was last serviced, if possible.
There you go.
Yeah. Actually, on some of these things, it can kind of go either way. You want to be knowledgeable about the house, but again, when I'm hosting a listing that's my house, it's different than when I'm hosting for someone else. And when I'm hosting for someone else, I pretty much lay that out at the very beginning when I meet someone. I say, hi, I'm Connie Davison. The listing agent on this house is Gareth Griffith, and he couldn't be here today. So I'm here to answer the questions that you have. If there are some that I don't know the answer to, I'd be glad to get back to you as soon as I can. And quite frankly, that's where I'm more likely to get their contact information, because I might have to say, you know what, I don't have the seller's disclosure with me. Would it be helpful if I emailed that to you? Mm-hmm. They're going to give you their email address if they want that disclosure.
Yep. And so, and never bluff. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. Agree, admit to it, and tell them you can always get the answer and give it to them. I just put up here an example of a flyer. So this is something that I, like Connie, I would have in my hands, and then offer, it offers some talking points, the general description of the home, neighborhood comps loosely pulled together, not a full CMA by any means, just a couple examples.
This is awesome.
That value of, what else is open, within a couple mile radius of this home, if you're out looking today. So you're adding value, and a little bit about, just how things work. And so these are all talking points and an opportunity to say, hey, I'd love to, share this with you if you find this interesting. What's a good email address to send it to? And so then I always have it in my phone, so I can just email it to them right then, right there, or text it to them, either way.
Again, is that something from Command?
Yep, these are made from Command.
Guys, look at that. That's awesome information. I cannot tell you how much I had to build that before.
Yeah, and so
that's beautiful.
One on the left is pretty much plug and play, and the one on the right, I had to move things around a little bit, but it's not all that hard in Command.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I already showed you that. This is nice because you don't even have to get into this conversation of are you represented or not. People who are will put in their person's name, and those who don't either will leave it blank or they'll just check. And sometimes when they check this one down here, that's gold right there, especially if they've given you stuff about what they're looking for. Another way you can collect information from is, if you wanted to do it electronically, is you can create your own website in Command and have an open house sign-in that is linked to the FMLS description of the home. And you have information about the property, yada, 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 a map, and it's all branded to you as the person who's getting them signed in. And the beauty of this is that it'll go straight into your Command database.
Can they sign in with that with their phone?
Yeah, you could have a link that they could go to. You could make it much smaller and easier. When I do this, I just have my laptop open, and they just type it right into mine. I haven't done this since COVID because I don't want to disinfect my laptop every time somebody.
Sure.
All right, now I'm trying to.
Well, and that's one where, again, if you decided you did want to have an open house sign in like that, then it may just shift things for you temporarily to where you're filling, they're giving you the information verbally and you're typing it in.
You're the one who's typing it in, yeah. But that's great because handwriting can be messy sometimes, and so this is a really easy way to kind of get a hold of it. Nice and clean. All right, here's the everything that really matters.
Yeah.
So Connie, talk about following up.
Yeah, I tell you, this is that piece that makes the difference, as you said. I know that I used to do open houses quite a bit when I was on a team as a buyer agent, and if you're not doing the follow-up, you'll find that you do a whole bunch of open houses and then nothing comes of it. You have to assume that when someone's coming to your open house, they're probably going to one or two others. They're not just coming to yours. So you want to be that one that follows up, not just once, not just twice, but 3 or 4 or 5 or however many times it takes. Because like I said, there could be that person that's ready to buy this week, or it could be that person that is really not looking for another 6 months. They're trying to get their act together and just kind of get some information. So yeah, probably some of the best advice I got was from Ryan, and he had said, Ryan Lewis, if y'all don't know him, he was the master at open houses. When he first got in the business, he made that a large part of his plan for developing his database. And the trick that, it's not a trick, the thing that he would do when he was scheduling his own time for the open house, instead of it just being, 2 to 4, and I might spend an hour beforehand prepping and maybe 20 minutes afterwards taking all my signs down, etc., he would add on an extra hour to 2 hours of follow-up time, so that that day you were calling all the people that you connected with and saying, hey, thanks for coming today. I really appreciated you being out there, and really just focus on the thank you. Really appreciated you coming. Got some information here from you that some things you're looking for. So I'll be sending you something in the next couple of days. I just wanted to reach out and say thanks. And that's call number 1. Then the next day might be your second call. Whereas a lot of agents are waiting. They have the open house on Saturday or Sunday, and they wait until Monday or Tuesday. All of a sudden, you're old news. So if you can jump on it the day of the open house, it just gives you a little bit of a leg up. And like you said, Gareth, you said it perfectly, that if you've got things of value, information, that's what you want to be heading them up with.
Yeah, there you go. And couldn't said it better. And in Command, one of the smart plans is an open house follow-up plan. It's got 7 touches over 3 weeks. And so you can start that plan as early as the time they walk out. I even had moments where I've sent thank you texts or emails before the next person comes in, for people coming in. So keep that up. Just as an example of kind of that follow-up piece, got a listing going live this end of this week from an open house met back in November. So
November of last year?
Last year. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So that's so that it's real estate's a long game. Sometimes it's quick, but there's a lot of business in the long game.
Mm-hmm.
And just a couple little resources for you. This guy does a great job in an hour video. This is taken from a family reunion 2017 session that he did, and he really kind of has a system for open houses. And so it's well worth your time to watch it. He's better than I am, so you go for it. Connie's great.
So that's Chris Suarez.
He's actually an expansion team now, and he built his business on open houses.
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. And he tells you how he does it. So you can learn a lot from this video. So, when Julianne sends this out, you'll have it. And so you can click on it, or just search him up on YouTube. It's not hard to find. And then this is us. And I think we've got maybe time for a minute or two for questions. So fire away.
Have you done any virtual open houses? And if so, how did you handle those?
Yeah, I have done a few kind of connected to in-person open houses. And I've done just kind of Facebook Live type things. I've also tried Zooms. I've had minimal success at it. I know other agents have had better luck with it. I think it's in kind of how present you are on social media already.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a big social media following and you're doing a lot there, you can probably bring some of those people in with you. So that's just kind of my take on it. They're fun. It's easy to do. And for the nervous seller, this would be great. And so I would recommend that you have a gimbal for your phone, because just holding a phone and walking around the house with it, it's shaky. If you know what a gimbal is, it moves in 3 dimensions, and you can hold it and it will hold the camera pretty steady. So you can either borrow one, or they're not super expensive, maybe $100 or so. And so that is a really good way to get some decent quality video as you're walking through a space. But the key in that is in the marketing and driving people to it. You can put the link in FMLS that there's going to be a virtual showing. So that's one way to advertise it. But really getting it out on social is the key.
There's a gal that I listened to, I think she's out of the Sandy Springs office, back in a Bold session earlier this year. And she was doing great with it. I'll have to see if I can find out her information. I'll send that to Julianne to send out. But she said what she liked about it, doing the virtual, is that, for one, they have to register. If you're going through Zoom or whatever platform you're using, there's a link, but they have to register. So you've immediately got their email address or a phone number. So it's a great way to get contact information. You just have to be pretty good with the technology. I think I've shifted pretty well to using technology, but I would certainly say that you got to practice.
You can practice on your friends of your own home.
Even as we're experiencing today, we know there's a fair number of you out there listening to the call, but we're not necessarily getting a lot of one-to-one feedback. And so for me, that would be the one challenge of doing a virtual open house, is I would feel like it's just me talking. And so you've got to figure out those scripts or those ways to engage others in the process. And there's going to be some that are just going to watch. They're not going to engage. I've always thought that if I can get one good solid lead out of any open house, that's a good open house. Because if you're hosting one a week or one every other week, that's 20. If you're doing just 2 a month, that's 24 people in a year that could buy or sell a house. And I figure when I get a lead, I'm making it happen. It's not just a lead, they're going to buy or sell through me.
Cool. So any questions, throw them into the chat.
Would you mind going back to the FMLS screen where you can find who has new listings in our office?
Sure, I can do that. I can walk you through it.
Well, and while he's doing that, I will tell you that sometimes you find it by just tuning in for a class. I've got a new listing that came on live on Friday night. It's a townhome in Sandy Springs. Our list price is just above $375. I think we're at $375.9. Don't ask me why I put that extra $900 on there. But anyway, we're at $375.9, and it's a great property. I'm happy to let someone do an open house on Saturday or Sunday. If you would like, reach out to me. It's a nice property. It's vacant. It's a gated community, so you will have to deal with a gate, but we'll talk through how you manage that. It is Labor Day weekend, and under normal circumstances, I might think that it could be a slow weekend. I think right now, people are home and they want to buy a house.
Yep. And another great way is just to tune in to team meeting on Tuesdays. When people are talking about their listings that are coming up or that they have, some of them might be willing to let somebody host an open house. So, all right, but back to your question. So obviously this is the top left for the FMLS search screen. You're looking for, things active. Down here under additional fields, this is the bottom left. you can add a field and list office code is the field you want to add. And then our office code is KWEC01. So that's the easiest way to find our current listings. You can go under, I didn't show enough of the screen, but right under the status here, you can put in or actually you can click right here and you see, I want to click the, I want to click the actual screen, but I've got a picture. So right here next to the active and the date, you can put like the last 2 weeks, looking for recent listings, or you can just leave it open and see everything that's listed and then just scroll through them. And you can see who the agents are and get in touch with them. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
So Connie, I don't know if you saw in the chat, but Krishna.
I did. I've got her number down. I will be in touch after we're done.
And I have a listing that should be live and ready for an open house next week, and it's 725 off of Bishop Lake in East Cobb. So
Nice.
it probably needs 2 people just because it's a bigger house. And anyway, so I've got that one coming up. Okay. Any other questions before we head out? Wonderful. Connie and Garrett, thank you so much for your time, your talents, for giving us an organized approach on how to hold an open house. I know it's very appreciated. It's appreciated. Not just by me, but by the agents. So thank you for giving of your time to the office.
No problem.
And
happy to do it.
go out and get some listings, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
The open house you held for me, Gareth, have you got them listed yet or no?
Not yet. They had a COVID-related job hiccup, so it will be delayed till the spring, but it was a buy-sell. And
You got a buy-sell from an open house that he hosted for me. So it does happen, ladies and gentlemen.
And they're solid too. And so who knows, they could bring me a referral in the meantime.
Exactly. All right. So go get some open houses and make some things happen. All right.
Okay, we'll do. And I'll share this with you, Julianne.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll send it out to everybody. Thanks so
Thank
much.
Bye, everybody.
you.
Bye.
Krishna, we'll talk later.